You're listening to Raising Anchor, a Rhode Island FC podcast. We're glad you're here. Hello and welcome to Raising Anchor, your podcast and source for all things Rhode Island FC. I'm your host, Matt Entrican, and joining me on today's episode is very special guest, RIFC midfielder Clay Holstad. Clay, welcome to the pod.
Well, thanks for having me.
Let's get started in this. So, can you tell us a little about your start in soccer, your origin story, if you will? How does a guy growing up in Birmingham, Alabama, end up with a professional soccer contract in Rhode Island?
I feel like it was kind of just like every other kid when I was young. Started playing basically as soon as I could. Just club soccer. That was all we really had. There weren't any academy teams around us. The closest one would have been 3.5 hours away in Atlanta. So just grew up playing club soccer. Always enjoyed it, just traveling every weekend, playing like out-of-state teams, playing like region tournaments, region league, all that stuff. And then through high school, I only played 2 years of high school, and then because in Alabama we didn't really have any teams that went all year, so it was kind of train or play high school. And then my senior year, I had moved to live with a host family in Houston, Texas, and played academy for the Houston Texans. And then right before I went down there, I committed to play soccer at the University of Kentucky. And that was kind of it. After I graduated high school, I went and spent the next 5 years at Kentucky and kind of had like a up and down with my playing time. I was starting, not playing a lot my first 2 years, and then playing a decent amount as I got older. And then I think by the time my fifth year came, I went back to go, do some more school, play some more soccer, just kind of enjoy it because, it doesn't last forever. My fifth year kind of took off, played a lot, played a really big role for my team, and I think that was kind of what boosted it to eventually getting drafted. I guess this would have been last January. Got drafted to Columbus Crew and kind of just spent last year there. I played with Crew 2 with Noah. It was me and Noah there, and just learned a lot, learned as much as I could, took in as much as I could, and then that's what led me here. It's nothing super special about it. I kind of just always told myself every time I'm on the field, I'm going to play as hard as I can. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then I did a lot of work in school, spent a lot of time, doing a bunch of like extracurricular stuff, focusing on my major, go back, get a master's. At one point I was looking at med school, and then, once the draft happened, that was kind of like, okay, well, I guess all my eggs are in this basket now. So
a lot of players, they kind of can come up between two crops of existence now, right? You've got the collegiate side with the likes of the super draft, which you experienced being drafted into the Crew. And then you're seeing nowadays more and more of this organic focus or effort in bringing players up through multiple academy stints. You had said a second ago that you didn't get quite as many opportunities there. Do you see the path forward in professional soccer development changing and moving away from that collegiate approach to the academy emphasis? Or is it a little bit of both?
I think it's moving, it's slowly but surely moving into like kind of an academy style is what it seems. But I also think with just the U.S. as a whole being so big and kind of like college being such a big thing for so many families and so many kids, I really wouldn't count it out. I think sometimes it kind of seems like it's going to extend your journey a little bit. Kids are coming out of college instead of signing at 18, 19 years old when they're fresh out of the academy, they're signing at 22, 23. But I still think that there's some benefits for depending on the kids. Take me for example. I was tiny when I graduated high school. I still grew another 2 inches when I was in college. So me signing my a professional contract at that age would have been a lot more difficult. It would have looked a lot more different. I think it was beneficial for me to go, gain some weight, get used to playing with bigger guys, and kind of get that experience that way. So I don't think it'll ever completely die out, but it does seem like right now people are putting a lot more emphasis on, homegrowns, going through academies and doing it that way. But I really don't think it'll completely die out. I think it's just too many benefits of still going to school that people are trying to live. So
do you think that the collegiate, divisions 1 through 3 soccer programs may be the thing that suffers then with that change in scope? Because people would still go and get their education, and some academies even have the ability to continue your education and get your degree while in the local academies. Do you think then that's the program that could suffer?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see. I mean, just even like talking to coaches, they're like, yeah, a lot of kids are like being around the Columbus Academy last year, knowing the kids are like, well, if I can get a chance to sign, I'm not going to really try to go to school. But I still think you have a big enough pool out of just take Alabama kids. Like a lot of those kids don't have an academy. So, I mean, you still have these huge pools of kids that unless you're going to move and go live with a host family or spend what is probably a decent amount of money to like get your family up and go the closest you can to an academy, you're going to kind of have to go the college route. So I think it could take a hit, but I still think it's like super beneficial for certain families in certain situations.
So how has Rhode Island treated you so far as a state? What have you been up to in your time outside or away from the team?
So far, I mean, I really enjoyed it here. I will say it is cold, but I've also been told that this is one of those one-off years where, of course, the first year we come here, everyone's like, well, it's just been raining and cold for way longer than anyone expected. But, I mean, so far, I've enjoyed it, especially now it's getting warmer. You get to go. I actually was just at the Riverwalk today, so walking around, seeing downtown, just grabbing a coffee, enjoying it, enjoying the people. So I've really liked it so far, and everyone's super nice. Everyone that comes out of the game is amazing. So I've really enjoyed my time of just getting to know everybody, getting to see places. I mean, I still got a lot more to do and a lot more to see, but I'm looking forward to it.
Any particular place as a point of interest you're the most excited to see, or any place that maybe has been a little too overhyped that you've been to so far?
I wouldn't say anywhere overhyped yet. I mean, even this is just my first time being in New England living in New England and being here for an extended period of time. So Rhode Island specifically, everybody talks about the beaches, so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. I mean, I have some very high hopes and very high expectations just because of everything I've heard so far, but that's probably what I'm looking forward to the most as of now, of just, taking those weekends off, going down, getting in the water, go to the beach, hang out there, and then just New England as a whole. Like, I went to New York City for the first time earlier this year, and I used to always say, like, it's probably overhyped, and then when I went there, I was like, oh, this is actually really enjoyable. So going to Boston, going around there, just seeing what I can over there, I'm just looking forward to it, trying to take in as much as I can.
I'll definitely have to get with you offline and give you the secret beaches in Rhode Island that we can't say publicly because we would get banned from them ourselves. So
yeah, I get filled up too quick. Yeah, I would much appreciate that.
So let's get on to the club itself. How has the start of the season been for you personally? What's been going on in that space? How have you been developing as a player with Rhode Island FC?
I think so far, I've really enjoyed it. Work, it's definitely one of the best jobs in the world, but I've played kind of a little bit of every position throughout preseason and throughout the beginning of the year, so just kind of adapting and doing what the team needs. I think there's always room to grow as a player, so as I went from center back in a back three at the beginning of the year to now holding mid the past 2 games, kind of switching my game and either being more of attacking if they need me to, or being the guy that just sits in the hole and sits in front of the back line, does the dirty work. I think I've learned a lot. Kano's super helpful. The entire coaching staff, from Dave being this is what you need to try to work on, try to do this, just giving me pointers here and there, and Carl being okay, well, set pieces, this is what you really need to work on, get bigger, be like a body for us, and kind of developing in roles that I haven't always had. So far, I mean, I've really enjoyed it, doing the extra work. We'll do IDP work, doing extra work with coaches, kind of just honing in some skills that either I haven't used a ton or I need to get better at. So I've really, really had a good time, but I mean, it's going to be difficult work, but long season.
It seems like there isn't a single role you can't play, or at least you haven't had the opportunity to prove anyone wrong yet. But if, in your own words, since you've been all over the pitch, where do you feel that you're the most comfortable in showcasing your skills and abilities? Where do you thrive the most on the pitch?
I mean, I've always said somewhere kind of like the spine of the field, somewhere in the middle of the field. But I think it's kind of situational, is what, especially what Kano's talking about. Just if kind of whatever the game sees, whatever he needs me to move, if he needs me to move back, get the ball deeper, take looks that way, or go higher up the field. I'm really just, like, it's kind of situational for me. I love playing in the midfield. I love being, like, having a little more freedom than at center back. But if we're playing in a back three, that will give me the freedom to, step forward, kind of take a chance, make a run forward if I need to, make a run outside, overlap and stuff like that. So I'm kind of just, I've gotten pretty good at just being a little jack of all trades if I can.
I mean, and I think that fits the narrative that we've seen on the on-field performance. Going to the team at large and your contribution to it, how would you describe your brothers on the pitch? How is that locker room environment? Is this team still a work in progress when it comes to the gelling and the cohesiveness, or are you guys a pretty tight-knit unit at this point?
By now, we've definitely gotten a lot tighter. I mean, through preseason, of course, everyone comes in. It almost somewhat helps that not everyone knows, like, a ton of people, so you don't really have an option but to, get to know a bunch of guys, talk to them, learn their story. But through the preseason trips that we took, going to Florida, going to Bermuda, even when we played Las Vegas, we went from here to Charlotte to Las Vegas. We spent a week on the road. And when you're with the guys that much, I think the locker room, everyone's getting along a lot. There's not like a bunch of like little cliques and stuff. Everyone is getting to know everybody, taking the time out of their day, make jokes, joke around, mess with everybody, and become more of a family than just show up, practice, train, and leave.
Who are the characters on the squad so far? Who have been the people that kind of distinguish themselves as those individuals that kind of can create the fun, the chaos, and the commotions within the squad?
I think mostly it comes in pairs. You have like Jojea, Kofi, Karifa, and Dikwa, who like to mess with each other all the time and be kind of loud. And then you have Noah, who will mess with everyone. Noah, Turnbull. And then you have Connor, who is just an absolute nut all the time and is nothing shy of just bringing entertainment. So I think a lot of guys, but for sure I would say Noah and Connor have definitely solidified themselves as some of the goofballs.
So you're not guilty by association with the Crew 2 pairing with Fusan? And I think maybe Isaac was leaving as you were coming into the Crew 2, so there's no like trio of trouble there when it comes to locker room shenanigans?
I wouldn't say I'm not guilty, that's for sure. I definitely have my fair share of moments, but I'm not gonna take any credit for it right now.
Fair enough. So your transition from MLS Next Pro into the USL is, what have been the noticeable differences playing so far in this league? What have you seen in yourself? What have you seen amongst the competition that maybe was a preconceived notion or that you didn't really know until you stepped foot into the league?
I mean, as far as myself, I think it's just, I didn't really know a ton about the USL before. I mean, once I got to MLS Next, that was kind of that's kind of what my world revolved around last year. So I really didn't have an idea of a lot of USL teams or what the level was like or what it would be like. I mean, you just kind of make expectations in your mind. So, but I think coming in, proving that I can play, proving that I can like play a pivotal role it's been confidence boosting, knowing that I can kind of adapt to the speed of play and still like do what I think I can do and still have room for improvement. I think it's just nothing short of just a confidence booster. And then coming here, the main difference is, for me, is just, kind of just everything's the same. It's just everybody's bigger, faster, more experience. When you're playing MLS Next Pro, a lot of the guys are a lot younger. It's super technical, but you're not dealing with, 5-6 year veterans who have a ton of pro experience, or some MLS guys that are now playing USL, and some guys that have made the jump up from USL 1. So I think there's a lot more experience that goes into it. And then speed of play is just going to be faster. Everyone's a lot bigger. Everyone's a lot faster. Everyone has a lot more like in their mind about what they're going to do. So I think that was probably the main adjustment right off the bat, is just kind of getting used to that versus playing more of a technical game, possession game, where play at all costs kind of deal that we had last year.
Is there anything about the infrastructure that has been noticeably different for you, whether it's an upgrade or maybe just a change? This league is constantly getting compared to right now between the likes of Next Pro and MLS as a Division One. Is there things that you see that the league is doing really well, or are there things that you'd like to see change and as the league continues to develop and grow?
Right now, I think like you can tell that it's growing a ton. I think the PA is also doing a good job of having the players' best interests in mind, but just like overall, like the amount of like fans especially, and the amount of, I guess, how engraved the teams are into the community. With a lot of the MLS Next teams, like with Crew 2 being like the same area as Columbus, it wasn't as easy to get fans as we could here, having everybody in Providence that's like so set on coming to the games, loves having us here, loves coming out, versus we had a great fan section at Columbus, but I think we were also one of the better ones. Sometimes we would go to games and there's just not a ton of people there because it's either kind of far from, I guess, their home of where the first team was, or it's just kind of difficult to get them to come out to games when you have the first team that's what everyone's really focused on. So that's been great. And I think a lot of just kind of being like having like a better base for having the growth and having the like expectations to be bigger clubs, trying to get as much out of as they can, as like these second teams aren't going to really be able to overtake MLS teams. I mean, I think that we had a great job. We had a great setup. I would never complain about anything about Columbus, but I know it's also different from club to club in MLS Next Pro, so I can't really speak for everybody. But USL just putting so much time, so much investment into it, whether it be monetary or like with our stadium, or just the amount of staff that we have working behind the scenes and just marketing the team, getting us the experiences we want and we need, giving us like the needs that we have, and kind of just doing the round the clock work for us. I think it's been great. I've loved it here, so it's definitely growing, and as long as it keeps growing, it's going to turn into something pretty big.
Speaking of something big, this club has been knocking on the door of success in all of its games that it's performed in so far. There's been incredible fan reception and fan attendance as an expansion club in less than favorable weather. So really excited that better weather is on the horizon. But the performance of the club has been pretty even keel so far on the year. There's been a couple of losses, a win, and a lot of draws. I could ask, are you comfortable with the overall performance so far? But I think really, what I'd love to understand is when you look at the run of form that this team's been on so far, is this a result of just being an expansion team? Or is there something else that the team needs to work on, in your opinion, that can get them across the finish line when it comes to getting some wins, especially in front of fans at home? Like what does this club need as it's going through that first set of 10 games?
I think a lot of it does have to do with being an expansion team. I mean, all the guys, no one's played with each other, and you could even tell through preseason with the staff is that we don't have like a defined, all right, this is what we've been doing for the past couple of years. This is how we play. Let's just fill in a few pieces. It's like, no, we have 20-something new pieces, and let's figure out a system that's going to work best for that. Obviously, the coaches have something in mind coming in, but once we figured out what kind of works for us, then it's just improving upon the little things. So I think you can tell from the beginning of the year to now, like defensively, set pieces, we've been one of the better teams defensively, set pieces after the first 3 games. I mean, we're not really giving up any chances there. We're doing our job. We're doing it off the ball, do the work off the ball and behind the ball. And then now we're slowly but surely just trying to find a way to make that final third click. It's kind of the last piece that we've been working on, is once we build out, we get to there, just finding out combinations, making sure everyone's on the same page. I think that's kind of the biggest piece, is getting used to playing with everybody, getting used to being in those situations that, it's hard to train. A lot of it comes from just game experience and being in those spots with people. But once we figure that out, that last piece of, all right, we've gotten all the way up here, let's get some good shot opportunities, and then hopefully those turn into goals. I think that's kind of the last piece that we've been working on, and once that clicks, I think we'll definitely be a good team.
Speaking of goals, you've had some of the most impressive goals scored for this club, both in regular season and in Open Cup. I still actually think that your top bin in the Open Cup is still a contender for goal of the tournament. But it seems like overall goal production has been very feast or famine for the club. Do you think that that's the result of the injuries that the squad has faced? There's been numerous, including some of our key offensive players. And if it is, the injuries and getting the squad up to full health, what does the team need to do differently to approach those issues in the interim, right? Like, where else do you think the goals can be coming from based on what you've been working on?
I mean, right, obviously the injuries are never going to be helpful. I mean, having JJ out, having Deco out, but I mean, having Mark play up top, I don't think is anything short of I don't think it's a problem at all. I mean, I guarantee you at some point he's going to figure out how to be a goal scoring machine. He's always in the right spots. I still think that the biggest part of it still for us is just getting on that same page. I mean, as far as injuries go, the staff, trainers, everybody's doing everything they can to make sure people are healthy and can get back on the field as soon as possible without having to risk anything. And then just getting overall production. I mean, you saw last game, Prince just absolutely killed the right back, and then it was just the final piece of getting people in the box, getting the ball on someone's head or on someone's foot. Once we get to the top of the 18, finding little combinations. I think that's it's not simple, but I think the answer is pretty simple of just finding that final piece, getting everyone on the same page, and just kind of having the tenacity to actually score goals is really what we're missing. Just someone with the tenacity and the drive to just, all right, whatever happens, I'm going to make sure this ball ends up in the back of the net somehow.
Taking more Clay Holstad top bins from the outside the 18 is what I'm hearing.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't complain about it, but I'll keep trying my best.
So kind of winding down here, besides the derby, which is on every fan's mind from both sides, what other matchups are you excited for this year? And are there any reasons behind why you're excited for those matchups as we continue into the season?
I mean, obviously going down to Birmingham, it's where I'm from. Only grew up, 30 minutes from there. So that'll be a fun one, having family there, just having everybody come out to watch, being so close and accessible. That one I'm definitely looking forward to, especially Kano coming from Legion. I know he's definitely going to be pumped for that one. And then other than that, I mean, I get excited about all of them because I know so little. I mean, I get excited to play against guys I know, like guys on Loudon. I played college with some of them, played with them last year. But I really just kind of every team. I mean, this is my first time in the USL, so every team's a new team for me. So I kind of just enjoy, getting to play all these different teams I have that I know nothing about besides what I learned from Scout. So it's kind of a new challenge. It's always fun for me. That's kind of where my excitement lies. Just all of these new different challenges, going to different places and playing. That's kind of what I get my enjoyment out of.
Birmingham's game is actually extra special then because that will be the first televised game in Rhode Island FC and Birmingham's history. So that game if you're playing that game, and I hope you are, that game will be nationally broadcasted. So that's another huge win for everybody.
Oh yeah. And they've done a great job finally doing what they can to get all the games on, or as many games as they can on national TV, just gaining exposure.
Definitely. So this weekend ahead, you're going up against a very dominant team, currently in first place in the West. What's going through your mind getting ready to tackle this? What's the game plan? What is something that you guys want to make sure you show up differently for fans going into Burn on Saturday?
I mean, the week's pretty just like any other week. We're gonna go train. We're gonna prepare for the team just like it's any other team. Obviously, that right now they're one of the top teams, and that you're gonna have that in the back of your mind. But right now, our big thing is just get the fans the first home win. I mean, they've come out to every game, rain or shine so far. So just getting them that first home win, being able to celebrate with them is like the biggest thing on our mind. That's why I think it means a little more outside of just the team we're playing. Just give the community what they want, give them a chance, give them a little hope, give them the reason to come back, keep supporting us, coming in after we put in the work day and night. That's really what we're focused on.
You couldn't say it any better. Any final words for fans tuning in or coming out on Saturday?
No, just come out, be loud, and we appreciate every person that comes out. I mean, that's why we play. It's definitely way more fun when you have fans, and that's our biggest appreciation. I don't really think we can show them enough love, especially the people that come out, sit through rain or shine. So I know it hasn't been the best lately, but it's getting better.
Clay, I can't thank you enough for jumping onto the podcast today. We look forward to connecting with you in the future. Rhode Island FC will be back home at Burns Stadium on Saturday, May 11th, as they take on the Sacramento Republic at 7 p.m. If you can't make the game in person, you can watch it on NESN Plus and ESPN Plus. And of course, we're on Twitter, Threads, and TikTok at RIFC Podcast, Instagram at Raising Anchor, and you can always visit www.raisinganchorpodcast.com. Clay, thank you so much for joining us, and we just can't wait to see you again and out on the pitch this weekend.
No, thanks for having me.